What would end up being William Regal's decision involving the controversy from last week's NXT? Were the Vaudevillians hyped enough for the hype bros? And who was the better person out of Finn Balor and Apollo Crews? We're going to talk more about that on this week's NXT review right here on WGS-TV. Hey, YouTube, are you ready for your hot tag? Because if you are, it's definitely time to warp.
Oh, hey folks, this is Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and you're watching WGS-TV. Tough guy.
Greetings, YouTube. You have warped your way back into another episode of WGS-TV right here on YouTube.com/WrestleGamer. I am the WrestleGamer, Double B, Bunny Boudreaux, and what we're going to be doing on this video, guys and gals, we're going to take a look at NXT, giving our thoughts and our reactions to all the matches, all the segments, and you two guys can put in your thoughts on NXT in the comment section below, because, again, this is an open forum. I definitely want to hear what you guys out there have to say about NXT. Joining me on the review, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to WGS-TV, guys and gals. You know him as the Bay Area MVP, known as Will. Will, how you doing?
The only thing I can say is NXT was actually watchable, folks. It really was.
And for many times, for many weeks here on WGS-TV, I've always referred to NXT as being the better brand of WWE, the more watchable brand other than the Raw and SmackDown main roster. But anyway, guys and gals, let's go ahead and get the review started. Now, we look at the opening match between the Vaudevillians and the Hype Bros, and for the past couple of weeks, we've kind of seen, like, kind of weird, unusual promos from the Vaudevillians. Now, we've seen them do, like, their vaudevilles type of promos, but as of late, the only thing we've kind of seen them do was just standing together, they would shake their hands, and then they would start sneering and frowning at the camera, and then the whole image would kind of melt away in a sense. Will, when you saw that stuff, what was your reaction to it?
Well, my reaction is very simple here. You basically got it. They're turning back heel, as we probably well know. I mean, if you think about it, when they lost the belts to Dash and Wilder, I mean, that was the only thing that was giving momentum. Now, as far as the vignettes that you're mentioning, it means that they're creeping up, you know, basically to where they were better as a heel than they were as face. Now, don't get me wrong, they were better as heels because, you know, they were more aggressive and more tenacious as they are. But it is what it is. But, you know, I think it was better for the Vaudevillians to turn heel and get another shot at the belts, as far as I'm concerned.
Would you consider them to be more marketable as heels than faces in NXT?
I believe so. I really believe so. And, you know, the Whirling Dervish, their finisher, is a good move. And, you know, they were getting over with the crowd as they once was, if you ask me honestly.
I definitely have to agree with you on that sentiment. And speaking of that, the Whirling Dervish was the finisher on Zack Ryder as the Vaudevillians do pick up the win. Following that, we'd have Carmella and Emma. As of late, we've been seeing a lot more of Emma in the ring rather than Dana Brooke. I'm not sure if it's due to any kind of injury that Dana Brooke might have suffered, or the fact that she definitely needs a lot more in-ring training than what she usually has, because Dana Brooke really just didn't sell it for me when it comes to the in-ring aspect. She can cut a decent promo. I'll give her credit for that. But when it came to actually in-ring work, she definitely needs a lot more work. Let's just say this: Eva Marie is a better in-ring wrestler than Dana Brooke, and that's saying quite a bit about her in-ring acumen. But it still was a decent match for what it was. Carmella would end up using a backslide pin to get the victory over Emma, and that's something that's personally never really seen that much in wrestling in general. So I think it was kind of a rare occurrence, Will, to see something like that.
Yeah, and the thing is, to think that when Emma came back to NXT, that she would rebuild her craft, and all she's done is create a fake version of the beautiful people on that other segment. You know, her with Dana Brooke, I just think it's a waste of production. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of WWE's productive and creative time, if you ask me personally. But yeah, I mean, Carmella's on her own for right now, trying to chase Bayley for the title, and I can give this match for what it was, but I just think Emma's lost herself somewhere, Billy, and this is where, if she doesn't break off from Dana, I heard future endeavors is right around the corner.
Now, one of the things I've always enjoyed about watching NXT every Wednesday night, guys and gals, was the commentary team, especially when it came to the play-by-play of Rich Brennan. Rich Brennan, to me, is a solid, good commentator, but ever since they changed up the whole thing to Tom Phillips as a play-by-play guy, it's just really... I'm just speaking as a commentator myself with 7.5 years experience doing it here in Louisiana. Tom Phillips is like a mini Michael Cole. He doesn't do any of the proper moveset terminology. He doesn't do any of the signature moves, and just like Michael Cole, no call spots like it was nothing. You could see 3 or 4 moves, and Phillips wouldn't even describe it. And to me, that is not what a genuine play-by-play guy should be in the wrestling industry. You're supposed to be there to describe the action at the same time, having the ability to tell the story. For me, I was able to learn and adapt to do it after doing it for 7.5 years. When you find that mix that works for you and it gels for you, that's what you're supposed to use. And the way Michael Cole and Tom Phillips, the way they do commentary, it just really irks me, because there are so many wrestlers out there that have signature moves in their movesets that are supposed to be called in reference to their gimmick and their character, and they don't do it. Especially nowadays, when you see a clothesline, what do they say? They don't say clothesline, they say knock down. And I gotta say, ever since Tom Phillips replaced Rich Brennan, in my personal opinion, the commentary in NXT has gone a step down instead of a step up.
If you would have said 3 steps down, then we agree on something. If we would have said 3. And I don't know what Corey Graves is doing nowadays, but I'm surely have been disappointed. Now, you mentioned Tom Phillips. Who is Tom Phillips? I'm sorry. I pay attention to wrestling more than Tom Phillips. I'm sorry. And then you brought up another thing. I think Michael Cole is at the end of his commentary rope here. I mean, Byron Saxton at least can hold his own. And Lord knows what you think about JBL. But bottom line is, you made a good point about Cole. Tom Phillips, who is he again? Just saying. And I think if you were to put Byron Saxton with Mauro Ranallo, which they got from New Japan, then you got something. But I am not on the Cole Phillips wagon. Hell no.
And I got to agree with you to that sentiment. I mean, Mauro Ranallo, he actually does take the time out to learn the signature move name sets, to learn the gimmicks, learn the characters. And again, perfect example of that, the Nigel McGuinness clothesline that Dean Ambrose does. Ronaldo's the only commentator that actually calls it the lunatic lariat, which kind of fits with Dean Ambrose being the lunatic fringe in that gimmick, in that character. The other commentators, especially Michael Cole, they don't even name that move. They just call it a clothesline, that springboard clothesline in a sense. But the lunatic lariat is actually a much better name for that move, and that's one of the gripes I have about WWE as of late, is the lack of good commentary. Watching the match is one thing, but, commentary can, in my personal opinion, can make or break a match. If the commentary is really good, it provides the energy, it provides the emotion while telling the story to the fan, to the people watching it on TV. And if the commentary is really lackluster and really bad, as it's been as of late in NXT and WWE, especially on Monday Night Raw, then it really takes away from the match. It really sucks the energy out of the match. And that's one of the reasons why I've been such a stickler for good commentary. It's not just the fact that I'm a commentator myself, but after watching it for years and years and seeing good commentary, and then now they're transitioning to the crap they're calling, what they call commentary on Monday Night Raw and NXT as of late, it just really irks me. But then again, that's just my personal opinion. Let's move on from that subject to William Regal's announcement of what was going to happen at the end of the match. If you guys remember last week's NXT, the way the triple threat match between Sami Zayn, Baron Corbin, and Samoa Joe would end. It would end with Samoa Joe and Sami Zayn applying a submission move. Samoa Joe was a crossface, and for Sami Zayn a sharpshooter to Baron Corbin. Corbin would tap out, and Regal would make the only call that I kind of figured he would do, that he would have a rematch between Sami Zayn and Samoa Joe, and I think that was really the only way that they could take the story. So I thought that was a really good way, in my personal opinion, Will, to kind of tell the story of the number one contendership. Kind of ended in controversy as a cliffhanger to add to it. And to me, it kind of builds up the story, builds up the angle a little bit more. And I think the only way that they could have gone further with that is to have a rematch between Samoa Joe and Sami Zayn, the only two people that didn't lose out of that triple threat match.
Yeah, and it would be very silly if they brought Corbin back and have a rematch with all three, because clearly Corbin's all power stairs, and he's the ultimate heel as far as we know. I'll give it that. But yes, Corbin lost. He should not be part of this rematch. Now, as Joe and Zayn's concerned, Zayn, but he has to work his way up to the top. Joe, on the other hand, well, he still has unfinished business with Finn Balor, but we don't know where it's going to cross to, like you said. So, Joe, Zayn, to finally end it all, winner number one contendership, and in my own opinion, no disrespect to Sami Zayn, none, but I think Joe should have a legitimate one-on-one with no interference against Balor.
Well, yeah, there's some people out there who could agree with you on that sentiment. Up next, we're going to have Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy take on some local talent, some local jobbers. They didn't even get names on commentary, and didn't even announce who they are. And so that's basically the only thing we can call them is local jobbers. And what do you think happened? Of course, Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy would go over with the rocket launcher that the Midnight Express used to use. I can't believe even Tom Phillips doesn't even call it. Rich Brennan used to call it Air Enzo, and Tom Phillips just calls, it's a splash. And Colin Cassidy helped. And again, that just goes to the fact that, what aggravates me about commentary in WWE today, and the way it's just really been incredibly lackluster in a sense, especially when the commentators don't do the signature move names, which tie into the gimmick and tie into the character. That's one of the things that really aggravates me about that. But let's talk about something really grand, Will, in NXT. And I'm talking about the women's wrestling in NXT. And I'm talking about, in particular, Asuka and Santana Garrett. For those of you who are not familiar with who Santana Garrett is, she's really big on the indie scene. She's a former NWA women's champion. And not only that, but when she was in TNA, she was kind of the crazy thing. If you guys think back to the angle that they were doing with Samuel Shaw in TNA, and I want to think that was about 2013, 2014, in a sense, and they were, when Shaw was kind of doing that crazy thing, and they were having Brittany kind of have a love interest, in a sense, with Samuel Shaw, but that's pretty much the last we've seen of her in TNA. Now, she's done some matches in NXT, and according to her Wikipedia page, she's been in Japan as well. So I really hope they really stick out something with Santana Garrett, because I always thought that she was a good talent. She's always had some good matches in TNA as Brittany, and I would really would like to see her really perspire, in a sense, in I think that's the right word, in NXT and WWE.
Yeah, and again, this is where you're going to have a whole lot of writers that don't know any emphasis on women's wrestling. And you mentioned Santana Garrett has a resume. She's been in the indie scene for as long as she has. And Matt by text, think it goes, but anyway, I mean, she has matches in TNA that would blow your mind away. She's very athletic. Her athleticism is astounding. And for her to come to the WWE, especially NXT, will make you think twice about her before questioning her. But I know she has a match with Asuka, Billy, so when we talk about that?
Basically, whenever I watch Asuka in the ring, she's beautiful, she's dangerous, and she really is a step above a lot of the in-ring female talent in all of WWE, in my personal opinion. And whenever you see her, you know, you're always going to see something exciting, and it's something that you always got to tune in. Whenever you see Asuka wrestle, you have to just sit there and watch, because what she can do in the ring is just absolutely unbelievable. Some of the athletic things, you know, basically you don't see a lot of the divas in all of WWE can do, and she's just absolutely amazing and phenomenal in the ring. And they kind of described her on commentary as having a sick smile. When I look at the smile of Asuka, I don't see that. I just see nothing but hotness, in my opinion, Will.
And again, I mean, this is what needs to happen worldwide as far as women's wrestling is concerned. Don't just look at them as eye candy, as Jerry the King Lawler would think. You need to think of them as women wrestlers that could wrestle just as good as men are in these squared circles. And as far as I'm concerned, Asuka, well known in New Japan, and her resume is just unbelievable.
Definitely have to agree with you on that assessment. Asuka used the Asuka lock on Santana Garrett to pick up the win. Although she did work, she didn't really totally job out to Asuka in a sense, but she put on a pretty competitive match from the way it looked. But again, Asuka seems to be incredibly over in NXT. And one match I really want to see, Will, and I definitely know you would probably be on the same page as this when I say this, but one match I would really like to see in NXT is Asuka and Nia Jax.
Oh joy, grab some popcorn, get a drink, and prepare for things that would astound you from top to bottom in this ring.
And speaking of that, let's look at the main event for this week's NXT. Finn Balor and Apollo Crews. We want to talk about two men who are incredibly athletically gifted in WWE, and two guys that really can astound crowds. It's Finn Balor and Apollo Crews. And I gotta say, I'm glad they actually redid this match, because we never really got to see a clean finish from their championship match that they had several months ago on NXT, and that match was really fantastic. Whenever you can sit down and watch a match and not know which way it's going to go, especially when you have two guys who are incredibly gifted in the ring and can astound audiences the way that Finn Balor and Apollo Crews can, then you know you have a 5-star quality match, in my opinion, Will.
Yes, and like I said, this is where NXT is the better brand, and I know you've mentioned it a few times too. You know, Japan, he's wrestled all over the world, Mexico, Japan, his homeland Finland, you know, and Apollo Crews, you know, from Ring of Honor, you know, the guy's amazing. I mean, you can't get any better than these guys who roamed the indie scene for over 10 years plus, just to us faithful WWE fans that really like NXT, and you said it, 5-star matches all day.
Definitely. However, the finish of the match, I'm really a little bit perplexed about it, because he would hit the coup de grace. Finn Balor would hit the coup de grace on Apollo Crews and then go for a modified brain buster, in a sense, on Apollo Crews to pick up the win. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe it was a miscue. Maybe Apollo Crews forgot that was the signature and that he was supposed to stay down. I'm not exactly sure as to what would happen in that spot, but Finn Balor would end up using that modified brainbuster to pick up the win. But anyway, overall score on NXT this week. Again, NXT always been the better brand, despite the incredibly lackluster commentary of Tom Phillips. However, the overall show was always been a bit better than the main roster. I'm going to go 3.75 out of 5. Best match of the night definitely has to go to the main event between Apollo Crews and Finn Balor. Again, when you sit down and you have that kind of match where you have no idea which way it's going to go, and it really sucks in your interest. It keeps you interested in watching the match because you want to see what the finish is. And to me, that's always been one of the mainstays, one of the key key things that you have to have when it comes to telling a good story in a match, is having that ability to keep the fans entertained and keep them interested in the match to the very end, to see which way they're going to go and who's going to be going over in that match. I really don't have a worst match or worst segment, to be honest, because NXT has always been overall the better product of WWE, so I really don't have any worst match or segments for this week's NXT. There's really nothing bad I can say about this week's show. But so, Will, over to you. Your overall score and your picks for best and worst match or segment of NXT this week.
All right, 3-5 will be my score. Best match, it's going to be Balor and Cruz. Like I said, these guys are good talent that went all over the world, and you can't ignore what they have. Worst match, I actually do have one, and it's going to be Carmella versus Emma here, because like I said, Emma has lost that spark when she went to the main roster. And who did she debut with? Santana Garrett, and which we all know is the jokester WWE. You know, after a while, you know, Fizzing's down, she had itched it. Now she's back on NXT with Dana Brooke and ain't going nowhere. So that's my worst match.
Well, anyway, guys and gals, what we want to know from you guys out there, the viewers and subscribers, your thoughts on NXT this week. What are your overall scores? What are your picks for best and worst match or segment of NXT this week? We definitely want to hear what you guys have to say. Be sure you put your comments in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Will, you have anything you would like to announce? Because it's been a while since we had you here on WGS-TV, so you have any new projects that you're working on?
Currently, right now, I just been, you know, in and out of work and stuff like that. I'll pop in, you know, sometimes on WGS TV to give me some stuff. I've been away for a while, but you know, 2016 is supposed to be a good year, so you know, nothing yet. But you know, you'll never know until it comes up. So I will keep you faithful WGS fans updated as soon as I can.
WGS TV is on social media, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You guys can ask me questions. Links will be provided in the description box below. And as always, guys and gals, I'll have a couple videos in the annotations at the end of this video for you guys to check out as well. So with that being said, for the Bay Area MVP known as Will, I'm the Wrestle Gamer. Don't be able to do Joe saying we'll see you at the next Warp Zone. Santa keeps trying to get it back, but Akina is just too fast for her. Come and get it if you can. Akina starts running wrong. This matchup last week was great, Rick, and this matchup this week's Monday Night Raw was even better.
Sorry, my mic cut off.